Hello everybody, so today's video is going to be on my V6 Audi A4 project car. So I'll run you through the story so far. Part 1, we collected the car from a local classic car auction site, got it back home in one piece. Part 2, we got the car up on ramps to see exactly how bad it was there any hidden horrors. Part 3, we tackled that dreaded V6 cam belt swap, and we're now on to part 4. So part 4, I'm going to walk you through all the repairs I've done so far, servicing, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you how much it's cost. Now, if you're enjoying this Audi content, please remember to hit that bell icon so you get notified of new uploads. And if you're enjoying the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps us out greatly. Right, today we're going to tackle this CV boot that we found that was leaking there. So hopefully this shouldn't be too challenging a job. I've just loosened that off. That was a 17mm hex bit for that, so that came off. Not too hard. So that came off, it wasn't too difficult. So my plan of attack was going to be, I made a start on this yesterday, got loads of penetrating oil in this, was just take these two ball joints, release them from that arm and then pull the arm round, take that caliper off and then release the CV joint from the shaft and see how we get on with that. We're also doing another few bits and pieces on the car while it's up in the air. Oil change, and we've got a whole load of other parts here to fit as well. So we've got pollen filter, air filter, fuel filter, there's also our CV boot joint kit, and spark plugs are on their way. So it should be sorted by the end of all that. And another thing I noticed when I was under here was this. Might be able to demonstrate it. So that knocking, I'm convinced that's a noise that I'm hearing when it's going over rough ground. So I bought a new track rod end anyway because we're in here. It was only something like £15, so as well changing that and seeing if that cures the knocking. Right, we've now got the CV joint out. Obviously the caliper hanging there, the ball joint's disconnected. One thing I did notice when I was in here is that we have a knackered brake hose. I'll just zoom in on that. You see that? That is nasty. So we'll replace that while we're in. The CV joint itself, stripped that, stripped all the ball bearings out of there, washed everything down and put new grease. So we're just in a rebuild phase of that at the moment, and then we'll get that pushed back onto the drive shaft. Right, and there we have the finished job. New CV boot in there, so that's good, so we'll get no more grease leaking out of that. We've got the new track rod end up there. That's a hell of a lot tighter, I can't even move that one compared with the old one. And we've got a new flexi brake hose in there. Everything's torqued back up. I'm going to replace this one at a later date, I've just ordered one. And that's the engine oil filter just getting tightened up there. And then the last few millilitres of oil going in it. Next job, nice simple one, replacing the oil filler cap. It seems to have sprung a wee leak, I think probably just with age. Got a Febby replacement, so hopefully that will seal a wee bit better. And then that's just a fuel filter. You can see the pipes getting tightened back on there. It was a bit of a difficult position when it was on that ramp. And there we're just moving on to spark plugs. There we go, first plug. Looks perfect actually. NGKRs. Right. Got them all out now. They all look reasonable. Obviously they've got some wear in them. I've no idea when they were last done, but there's nothing sinister looking on them. Just general wear and tear. So I'll get this last one in now. Access was difficult for the two back ones. But to move the air cleaner inlet there up to get into that one, and on that, the back of that bank, we had to take the coolant reservoir, move the coolant reservoir to one side to get access. But not too bad for a V6 in a small car. Nice new plug. Right, last plug. The plugs are actually some distance down into these heads. But they all came out nicely, none of them were too stiff, which is a good sign. Go. Next, let's get this air cleaner out. And from first glance, it actually looks reasonably new, but we'll replace it anyway. If we can manage to get it out from here. Seems to be a bit tight. Yeah, not too bad. That does have a wee bit of wear on it. Looks the right one. Right, try and get that squeezed in here. Done. Last job of the day is pollen filter. And is this a 20-odd-year-old pollen filter by the looks of it? I don't think it's been replaced in a hell of a long time. So we'll try and get that out without dropping everything. I'm guessing that you probably just have to lift this upwards. Maybe need to use a clip. Right, and that's it out. And that's actually hoovered. We hoovered that before we took it out, but yeah, it's a good few years worth of grime on that one. One curious thing we found just when we were putting the cover back on the engine at this side is this connector here, which I presume is for the solenoid for the valve timing, was actually pulled up. It was disengaged and it was sitting like that. Now, we haven't started the car yet to see if it's made any difference or if it's cleared the fault code, but fingers crossed that it has, because that would make sense because it is on bank 2. So it would be interesting if that was the problem. And this is a warning, always check your brake hoses. If you look at that one, split there. Hasn't gone right the way through, but I don't think it would have taken much more. That looks like a really old one, and it wasn't obvious when that was on the car. It wasn't until we were doing that CV joint and we had it stretched at its limit that was obvious. So always check your brake hoses. Right, next job on the Audi HT leads. So after we completed the service yesterday, took the car out for test drive and we had a misfire, which we never had before. So I'm just putting it down to the HT leads probably being the original. So we've got this set, so fingers crossed this will cure the new misfire. And the last job of the day was bleeding the brakes. We actually done all 4 corners. We didn't know how long that fluid had been in there, so just for safety reasons thought I'd best do it all. Down, up, down. I expect there should be a lot of air in this one. Up. Okay, on to the important part of the video. How much has all this cost? That's what you'll be dying to find out. Right, we have a big list here. I don't even think we'll fit it on the whiteboard, there's that many things, but let's have a go anyway. CV boot kit, £13. Track rod end, £19. Brake hose, what do we have there for that one? £12. Oil filter, £8. Engine oil. 27. Engine oil is extortionate these days. Filler cap. Can you spell? £6. Fuel filter. £8. 6 plugs. £20. We're nearly there. Air filter. I cannot spell at all today. Air filter, £8. Pollen filter, £7. Now, this is a big one. HT leads, if you have a 2.4 V6 Audi A4, with discount, 73 quid. That was ridiculous. Brake fluid. I'll put down a tenner for that, and our total is £211. But the majority of that, well, not the majority of it, but a big chunk of that was HT leads. So if we didn't have that misfire issue, that would have been brought down. But I think it's like anything, you know, you disturb these old parts, something's going to break. So there we go. So that's our first lot of expenses. Now stay tuned, there's actually going to be a part 2 to this video. Well, I guess it'll be Audi A4 part 5. There's a whole load more expenses coming, a few more challenging ones. So that grows somewhat, so stay tuned if you want to find out how I get on in the next part.